everybody. Welcome to another edition of RevivalCast. It's episode 40 here, and we have quite a few blogs to talk about today, so that is going to be the main theme here. And I'll go ahead and pass off to our fearless leader, Diggs, and he'll let you guys know what's up.
Hey. Ooh, I love the red hood. It looks very demonic on Valix for some reason. I look like a Jedi, but Valix looks like some kind of, I don't know, Dark Force demon. I don't know. All right, yeah, it's great to have Valix joining us back after a little hiatus. We also have from the forums, Sword Saint. I'm really excited to have him on camera with us. I mean, not on camera, but we have his voice in any case. And Sailkite is back. So I'm just gonna kick off Valix. What have you been up to for the last few weeks? Anything exciting?
Uh, I've been kind of bouncing around, just doing job searching, kind of picking up some old habits. For anybody that's been paying attention to my Twitter, kind of doing some swimming, running, trying to get back into athletic stuff, and doing some parkour and old ninja habits from old. But I'm also kind of working on a blog for. Won't be posting in it very often, maybe once a week or so, maybe more often. I don't know, but I've kind of got it set up. I just need to get a few articles populated in it before I actually launch it live and link it out on my Twitter. But that's kind of what I've been up to. And then, just I'm also eagerly super excited about uh, sports ball tomorrow because my team's actually in. So I'm pretty excited, that's why it's orange, not red. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. I didn't expect them to make it there, so it's pretty cool. It's like a pleasant surprise. I'm excited.
Cool, cool. Sail, what have you been up to this last week?
Actually, I'm also searching for a job, so I haven't been doing much athletic though. Just walk. I take walks, but like that's really it. Searching for a job, and I'm semi excited for sports ball tomorrow because I guess my new home team slash prodigal home team is technically the in the bowl because I was born in North Carolina, so like I guess I sort of have some bloodline, you know, obligation to like root for the Panthers or something. But I barely even know the players though, so I'm like doing a bunch of research on like the newspaper and stuff to like figure out who everyone is, what's important. But yeah, otherwise it's been good.
Cool. I've been playing Darkest Dungeon. I watched Ombwa play again on Monday, and I think I'm gonna have to learn how to stream so that I can do some YouTube videos because I think I might want to start a Diggs reacts to Dankest Crowns Rock as I riff off of Ombwa playing because I definitely have reactions to to him playing. So Sword Saint, we had a great discussion. It was mostly private messaging going back a couple of days ago. I'm actually eager to get you on again so we can maybe riff off of that a little bit. What else have you been up to in the forums? Revival related, personally related. What's up with you, Sword?
Mostly work. That's been what it is primarily. I'm really happy to have inspired another blog. With the foreigners thread that I had wrote. It's good to
Yeah.
see that those are being responded to, and I'm kind of flattered that this is the second one after the Nomad one.
Hmm.
So just trying to keep keep new topics coming whenever I think, off the top of my head, especially if Omwa is gonna react to them and do a blog on them. I think it's great. I mean, it's we're still waiting for the game to come out. Um, so in the meantime, I figure, hey, let's throw some stuff up on the board, and if these guys like it, maybe we'll see some cool blog based on it. So I'm happy to see that this is the second one.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad you could join us. I think we learned that you normally aren't available on Sundays. Is that right?
Yeah, I work on Sundays. I'm off on Friday
Yeah.
and Saturday.
Okay. So we'll have to try and find some other Saturday later in the year. I really want to have you back on. Um, but yeah, we can jump into. We've got three blogs to discuss this week. And before I forget again, if you have questions, go ahead and do queue for questions in brackets or question in brackets, and we will try and grab those and get to them at the end of the show. But let's kick it off with blog number 63, Animal Husbandry, which had a lot more detail than I was expecting it to have. I think the skill set itself has a lot more complexity to it than I was expecting it to have. Um, One of the things that piqued my interest real quick is it mentions something about those who are interested in relieving themselves might have, yeah, eating, drinking, resting, and relieving yourself are things that aren't required for gamers to do, especially casual players who only like to play on the game's more welcoming surface. However, the players that want to get deep into these systems will be extremely rewarded. Deep into the relieving yourself system. So I guess we're
And
gonna be using our waste for fertilizer, and are we gonna be able to like turn that into a profession? Can we make some money from doing that? That's what I'm wondering first off. What about you guys?
Oh, the garbage men get paid well. The garbage men get paid well, so I bet some people could make some money dealing with crap. So I would expect that to be some sort of thing in there. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Diggs. I noticed too the quite a bit of details for animal husbandry about kind of just showing that there's a lot of depth to any system you really want to dig into in Revival. If they're taking a time to make a system for it, it's going to come with depth. That seems like it's a kind of a guarantee almost from the developers that each system is going to have its uses and be interconnected to everything. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know how much I'll dabble into the animal husbandry. I think I don't know from the types of characters I want to play and what I want to do in the game. I don't think I'll dabble in it too much unless it's more along the lines of having like a pet companion. Maybe falconeering to have as a mercenary to kind of scout ahead for me, things like that. I could see some use in, but as far as just like handling livestock and um, those types of things, I don't really think I'll be doing too much of it, but I am excited to see how much depth there is with that. It'll be cool to see the different ways people utilize um, all that. So
Are you thinking of having pets at all?
I think it would be really neat to. I've always wanted to, like when you're younger and stuff. Like falconeering was always so cool. I always said like, oh, I want to do that, but it's totally not real life practical. But yeah, I would love to do that in a game if I get the opportunity.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of interested probably into checking out the breeding aspects to some degree. I'll have an alt dedicated that to that, I'm sure. What about you, Sword Saint? Are you interested in any of participating in any of the animal husbandry stuff?
actually, I am. I've been in conversation with a couple of players, from the forums about co-sponsoring their stables if they have them. This pretty much goes for anybody. I mean, if you're on Gurusol, and you find yourself in a Valier or Fall Creek especially, I'm willing to throw down some gold, to help you with your stable, as long as you breed me some good horses. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm gonna be playing a Ranger Paladin guy. What's a Paladin without his horse? So yeah, I'm willing to do some business, with anyone who's going to be raising horses out there in those areas. I've been talking to some people about it already. So, hey, what's up? It's all about networking. So I don't plan on raising them myself, but I would definitely support a business that raises them to give me some good breed horses. For me and my guys.
Yeah, that leads me to thinking about one of the other things that I think is kind of fascinating about the breeding aspects, and especially, are you breeding? So, are you uh, not you're breeding yourself, but what types of horses are you thinking you're looking for? What qualities do you think you're looking for? Are you looking for war horses? Are you looking for racing horses?
Both. I'm looking for both.
Okay. Um, it
You know,
seems to be that these traits can change based on location, um, and that if we move them from place to place when they start breeding, their traits may spontaneously change to. It seems like, did it seem to you like to fit the area? I guess what I'm wondering is if we take several different um, horses from different areas and we bring them all to one area of Crown's Rock, will they develop similar traits because of the genetics in that area, or is it just changes randomly when you take them away from where they originally were?
I'm thinking maybe it's more of a thing like breeding. You know, like how dog breeders look for the best qualities, and you have one dog mate with another type of dog. I don't see it being any different. I mean, I'm sure each region is going to have their regional native, horses, for example. Personally, I think that the best horses in the game are going to be around Fall Creek. That's me personally.
Hmm.
Um, just naturally, I think the wild horses around Fall Creek are probably going to be the best horses in the game. Um, Part of the reason why I'm setting up in Villiers. But yeah, I think that it really comes down to, just the species, really. Um, that's really what it comes down to. Also, I want to do a lot of cooking, so I want to get good with, buying their best cattle. Let's make some damn good steaks.
Adding some flavor there. I'm thinking of going to Sword Saints barbecue. Um,
Man, I'm
that's
drunk.
You know,
So it's for sure.
hey, it's got to be
um,
like, let's go to
mm,
Sir Paladin's cookout.
yep. I hear what's up with that.
Right, so then
Yeah, no,
we got the
there's
adventure. You can just cook all day.
well,
Oh,
and you
I'm
got
not
to
out looking for criminals and stuff or fighting their griefers or bad PvP guys. Yeah, why not, man? Come on down and have a steak and a beer.
add you some spices and some flavor.
Yeah.
Um,
Reading was similar. I think the location stuff isn't strong in this case, like with perhaps maybe the exception of magical influences, but we didn't even really get a hint of that, so I don't actually know what that would look like. Um, in terms of ley line stuff, or whether a particular deity or planar force is manifesting nearby and like causing weird shit with your foals and whatever. I don't know, um,
well,
but
it
I figure
says
otherwise, like,
yeah, there's a line that says this isn't a simple trait matching, however. This isn't a simple system trait matching. However, when an animal breeds in one location, the offspring will branch off to create its own list of traits in a genetic lottery that never guarantees which traits will breed true from parent to child. Um, and so it seems like, so I think one of the things also in here that it mentions is that as we're developing our own brands or strains of food items, um, they might uh, they might affect specific stats. So some part of Crown's Rock may have a food that's especially helpful for, or a way of cooking food that's especially helpful for intelligence or strength or something. I don't know. Um, and that may affect the breeding of these animals as they move to certain areas, maybe because the food in that area is a certain way. I
I
don't
can
know.
agree with that. I can agree with that. But I don't think just taking a stallion and a mare out to you know the bluff versus just chilling in the paddock or whatever for coming over for paddock and chill as opposed to bluff and chill. I don't think it will make any strict difference with again the exception of like weird magical stuff. But yeah, I agree that I think things like food in the area or water in the area would have a sensible impact on maybe not necessarily the genetic traits, but at least how robust or strong a particular animal is at birth, right? Like if you don't have a well-fed and well cared for, sow or whatever, you're going to have probably not as great pigs or similar. I agree with that. I think location would function in that way, but again, I don't think it would be you know strictly positional. But yeah, it's
What
good.
about you, Val? You've been a little quiet.
I was just trying to get our void walker here sail with an image of her, so I was a little bit distracted. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't know. I'm totally undecided.
What about on the cooking side? Are you thinking about delving into cooking at all?
I'm not sure what skills I'll pick up that have me. I don't know what the best way to say it is. Um, tied down, I should say. I really want to be this type of, can go anywhere with my skills type of thing. So I'm sure that I'll
Hmm.
dabble in some type of food preparation, probably for survival purposes. Traveling, campfire cooking, stuff like that. But as far as getting deep into the system, I don't think I'll get too far into it. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's probably, I expect that to be with a lot of the skills I acquire is going to be a light brushing on the ones that I need to know just enough to survive, and then the rest, the deep areas I'll dive into will be, you know, the places I want to be an expert in, as far as sea navigation or, you know, sword fighting, just something like that, stuff that I'll both enjoy and will be useful to, make a profit here and there when I'm in my travels. So.
Yeah, that has me thinking of imagining you making jerky or trying to obtain jerky, travel food, and what types of travel foods you might specifically seek out to help with certain stats or maybe even certain skills. Something that'll help more with perception or tracking or
Yeah, I mean, if
that
he's
could
going like
be
really, really
interesting.
rough, right, he could be a trapper and do that kind of thing, and just know the
Hmm.
basic campfire cooking for dealing with small game.
Hmm. Um, yeah, it has me wondering if you'll end up getting skinning skills and things like that.
I could see those definitely being things.
Mhm.
Basically, anything that will help me survive better out in the wild. Because I really do like. I really like the latest blogs just because they've talked a bit about exploration. Because that's really what I play most MMOs for is exploring. I love it. So
Mhm.
that'll be all my skills will be relative to that. But I do enjoy the concept of living at sea. So, I'm obviously not going to be doing that in real life. So, exploring it in a game world, the revival seems like the best concept I've seen for it as far as making a living at sea in a game. So, I'm gonna play around with it and see. So that'll be a huge diversion for me for a while.
Um, yeah, and so Sword Saints, you said that you're planning to have a stables.
I'm planning to financially support them. I'm planning to invest in
Oh, okay,
someone's stables. If I
invest in. Okay.
now they, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Snipe Hunter. He was mentioning how some of the other cities may have manses with stables attached. If I can get a manse with a stable attached in Villiers, like where I'm going to be setting up at, then I'm definitely going to buy one. But if not, I have no problem with financially helping someone with their stables, for access to their good animals.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I was wondering because it talks about the logistics of keeping animals separated, but there also might be some temperament, behavioral temperaments based on the individual animals and um, mating and all of those things. So I was just imagining what it might be like at a stables if you have stallions. Do you need to make sure that the stallions are in? I don't even know how that works actually in real life, but do you make sure that certain stallions are separated in case they get jealous and all that kind of stuff from the other mares? So that's going to be interesting to see if it's going that deep, which it seems like it might. How um, players respond to that. and that you can turn some of that stuff on and off. But
Yeah,
you can, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm curious to see how, just like I mentioned falconeering, but I'm curious to see how they implement some exotic uses for animal husbandry aside from your staples of livestocking, mounts, and kind of your your generic pet, I guess, guard dog or stuff like that. I'm curious to see how they have these finesse uses, not finesse, but very specific, I don't know, outlying type uses for things like falconeering or specialty ways you can train certain animals, and also if any of that borders into anything to do with madness. Once you start maybe training dogs to sense when spirits are around, or different things like that, I think that would be pretty neat. But who knows, where that's going to go or
You
not.
just gave me chills. uh, Imagining dogs that are bred to recognize spirits—that's scary stuff right there.
Well, it seems like dogs, well, and not just dogs, but there are animals that seem to have like sixth senses, so it would be cool to see like some of those make it in the game for specific uses, and yeah, just kind of interlocking that system with so many other systems, kind of the way that they've been trying to do with everything. So it'll be cool to see if any of that happens. Oh, there you go. Ombwa says in chat, I have fun ideas for cats. So there you go.
I was thinking cats especially, but yeah, I think it's been mentioned that yeah, animals are more sensitive in some ways to spirits and stuff like that. So already, but do I want my cat staring at things that I can't see? Which they do that already, but that they literally could be seeing stuff that I can't see is scary to me. That's the horror of Lovecraftian horror. Um, Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of how the players will respond, trying to, what will they try to breed, and what lengths they will go to dive into the deep systems of these. Anything else in the animal husbandry blog? Anybody wants to talk about? Did we have any questions from chat on animal husbandry? Pet fish. Now I'm thinking of piranha. Um, and what other kind of monstrous fish we could have? I guess I'm also kind of wondering, what about more possibly intelligent sea creatures like dolphins and whales, and what their patterns might be like, what their breeding patterns might be like, how we might develop those over time. Those could be interesting too.
I was
I
thinking
don't
Um,
too
think we
about.
can breed whales, man. We talked about whales. I don't think we can breed whales.
okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about snakes and scorpions and stuff too, as far as
Oh, that'd be
supplying the
cool.
poisons or cultic, snake blood, cultic stuff. So there's a lot of things there too with exotic animals.
Oh, for sure.
I was gonna say, who thinks about breeding scorpions? But okay, poison. I got you. I got you.
I mean, I like
Um,
the falconry pig. That was cool. Or
mhm.
like magical truffle finding pigs or something. But yeah,
Well,
scorpions were
the
cool.
scary part is that Valix talks about being some wanderer, and now I just imagine him having scorpions in his bag that he drops into our sacks as he doesn't directly come at us with the sword. He just drops a scorpion in our pack and then
Hey, you gotta have
tracks us
tools
to later.
for natural death assassinations every once in a while.
hmm I don't know what happened. Uh,
Hey, I
cool.
think scorpions would make awesome familiars.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Intelligent scorpions. That's even scarier. You guys are just.
Yeah, building up
Mantis shrimp
building
familiar.
up poison tolerances like in The Princess Bride. Then
Oh
you're
yeah,
immune
yeah,
to
yeah.
your certain type of pet that you keep around. Would be pretty interesting.
I don't know. I'm almost scared to play now. What server are you guys on again?
Oh, I'll be in Blackwell. Don't you worry, Diggs. I'll be paying attention to where you're at, keeping tabs. I know you'll have your hand in everything, so you'll be a good informant.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to blog 64 on the songs of the seas. That was more of a tale. Um, we might find this information in some of the books that are in our houses. What did you guys think of these details? I'll start with Velix.
I thought this was pretty cool because, well, obviously, I tend to lean towards liking Ombua's story-based blogs a lot, but no, I thought it was really cool just because the presentation of it, it was a little bit different than the other, like the day in the life of stuff. It was more of a, you know, a journal approach. Somebody, had recorded things, and I liked kind of how it split things up, and there's this investigative nature to it because it really reminded me of kind of when you read Lovecraft style work as opposed to some of the other horror authors that Revival's being inspired off of, but kind of having this idea of, you're seeing clues or you're seeing patterns, and you're trying to make sense of them, and you start finding out more, maybe perhaps more than you want to. But yeah, I think what makes it cool is because when I think of you're gonna have your casual players that could pop in and do a few things, and you're gonna have the people that they make this their primary game and they play it every day, for a few hours every day or whatever. So I see this blog as being the perfect example of okay, you're the casual player. You could be one of the people that happens to see the vortex at night, the guard, or you could be one of those people that's like, wow, this crazy thing happened, and you just record it somewhere or you tell somebody. And then you have the deeper, I would say, more hardcore players or the core players that are playing all the time. You know, they're hearing about this, and then they're, oh, I also heard about this, and they're starting to put pieces together because, the developers are building it in such a way that, especially with the gold servers, the storytellers will be creating these patterns and, creating all these things for us to find. So I think it's going to be cool because it offers a little bit of something for both types of players. But yeah, I like it because it also obviously fits perfectly into the Lovecraftian theme of this horror mystery type thing. Even though it's very much, dark fantasy, medieval, exploring an open world, medieval world, but at the same time you've got these linear, I want to say, not linear, but you've got these paths, these connected clues that are a linear path, but you're not necessarily required to follow this path like you are in basically any other MMORPG. So really interesting stuff, I think.
Yeah, what about you, Swords?
Um, it, I thought it was pretty good. I really don't have too much feedback on it. I'm
Hmm.
more into the day in the life threads. I'll be honest.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought it was cool as far as just glimpses, as far as another side of what could happen, is according to its presentation. But I wasn't as into it as I am the other ones.
Well, so I thought I heard you say you're thinking about being a paladin or a ranger type. Is that what I heard?
Across the
Or
board, yeah, across the board.
and because I guess what this one has me thinking about in relation to that is whether or not uh, do you have are there cults that you think that you would be as a paladin you might be um, hunting down cults like the Hand of Hydra, um, or this cult that's mentioned, the Beth Kalor um, cult. Do you see yourself as hunting particular types of people?
Oh, absolutely, Beth Kalor, absolutely.
Okay,
I'm sure you know by past threads of mine, how my character is going to feel about Beth Kalor.
okay.
Um, so that's without a doubt. Like I said, I like the information. I just
Mm-hmm.
like the other type. I just like the other types more
Yeah,
because it's. I use the other thread. I use the other blogs to sell to people who might be interested in the game. Like,
yeah.
like, hey, look. This is what we can do here. Here you go. Like the Nomad one, especially. I know a lot of role players who were kind of scared off by the housing prices. So
Mm-hmm.
I showed them that one. Like, yeah, look how cool life can be, even if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
a house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's not that I thought it was bad. It was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. But I'm more in favor of the other ones. But as far as hunting down the cults, I mean, absolutely. But I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to be
mean,
running basically the equivalent of a cult myself, just a good one.
I hear you. Okay. Um,
Well, good wink, wink, basically. But yeah,
Good is all relative in Theleston, right?
exactly.
So,
Wink, wink.
um, but yeah, I mean, I guess this has me thinking as I think about this blog in relation to you and maybe even Velix is, like you said, these people who are perhaps more nomadic, who might be spending a lot of time exploring. This blog talks about a series of stones. It's called the Windward Grouping. It's on one of the islands in the archipelago that Crowns Rock is in. I don't think it's Crowns Rock specifically, um, but there's a group of stones. They have runes that seem to be like they might be dedicated to Hydra worship, but there's also thoughts that could be connected to Beth Kellor and yeah, just the idea of people possibly going there to explore just for general archaeology, but also people going down specifically to hunt down members of the Hands of Hydra or members of other cults. How do we go about tracking and finding more information? How does that lead to um, more information that's tied into astrology? Um,
Well,
and then the web.
what I think makes it, Revival particularly interesting and compared to other games is the fact that the world's kind of being built from the ground up with every component of it tied into their narrative delivery with like other games you'll have they'll give you lore or you'll do the quest line and like that's the lore of the game, but with Revival it's so much more exploratory and discovery oriented rather than it is like spoon fed, I guess to say. And I'm not saying that like yeah, WoW is terrible because it's spoon fed. That's just the method that they use. That the players that go play that game and enjoy it, they don't want to find it themselves. They'd rather just experience the game and get it all and not miss the major story components, or whatever. And I think Revival is interesting because not only is the story embedded in the events like the Maw of whatever it is, the Maw of the Mother, Hadra, whatever, however that's linked, with it being this event that happens in the world, this whirlpool moving around. But you've also got, like you said, the runes on the rocks and the actual. What I noticed too in the reading is, you have the caves and then you have these certain rocks shaped like a hand. That the actual geography of the world, will be tied to this theme of these otherworldly, deities, outer gods, and all this stuff having kind of played a role. Obviously, they came to the world at some point, we know, because that's what reset history. So, how much did they change the geography? And you're going to find clues and lore and narrative and all kinds of other stuff in the geography, in the events, in the NPCs, and it's just scattered everywhere. I think it's kind of cool because you can, link everything, but at the same time, it adds this element of wanting to take everything in because anything that you're looking at, it's not just like, oh, there's this is the zone wall, these mountains, like there's actually might be some some archaeological purpose behind the mountains, or maybe their shape has a meaning. You never know. So I think that aspect of it, you know makes it just makes everything more valuable in the world itself.
I definitely agree with that. I love the fact that you can play one character and have one type of experience and play another character and have a completely different type of experience and kind of basically be playing a completely different type of game, but still be playing within the same game. So
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And how all of those things work together. I mean, you might be playing different types of game, a different type of game, but you still might want to interact with each other. Um, you don't want to participate in big PvP combat raid directly, but maybe you supply the cooking for that, or maybe you supply the horses for that, or maybe you're the one who's direct funneling the funds to pay for the horses that go for that. Um, that's kind of fascinating. Um, I think I first heard about that. Something I got that idea from. Trying to think of his name now. Who did we have on Lock six time? That was one of the things that he brought up, an example of how people could help with PvP combat directly. Um, and in general, I don't know that I personally would want to be responsible for helping out with armor or food for conquering war bands. But some people might. People who are interested in that should be able to do that for sure. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, there is the Maw of Madness. So we got also some weather related. This traveling vortex was the second piece that's off the side of the islands.
The Maw of
How
the Mother,
weather
actually.
Maw of the Mother. What did I say? The
Madness.
ah, I've got madness on the mind.
I
Yeah.
mean, they may very well be related. So
hmm Maw of the Mother. Yeah. Yeah, the weather aspects are kind of fascinating too. I think Valix has touched on before how all these systems kind of work together is going to be fascinating.
yeah, it goes deeper too. If you're like me and you've been keeping a certain frenzied set of notes pertaining to the dates and times of everything,
Mm,
you will be present or excuse me, uh, well, presently and pleasantly surprised by some of the concordances in this blog with other events hinted at in various places of the lore. Um,
hmm
I will let those interested go ahead and do their own work, but there are some
Yeah,
things you can infer, or at
we
least
do have
set
a
up in your
time.
mind. Yeah.
We do have a time dropped of New Reckoning 99 in the logs of the Harbor Master of Hohensport. So
And
uh,
50 and 275, all of which are
yeah,
interesting to me, according to
the
my
Storm of
notes.
97. hmm
Yeah. All
Um,
all quite interesting indeed.
mhm.
S-
Anything else on Songs of the Sea, or are you ready to jump into the last one? The last one is really super interesting.
I actually think we should just go ahead into the last one because I think that's probably going to be the most productive.
Cool, cool. So this latest one was The Voyage of a Lifetime. This one was by Snipe Hunter, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and this one was cool. So one of the things that popped out to me pretty quickly was it, it, it's framed in a sense of trying to gather a group of characters to go on a voyage to possibly try and find out where this stranded ship of foreigners that speak a language nobody's heard of before have appeared, and you might want to gather some folks to find out where they're from. And what popped out was that this would be an expedition, and I like that that's a different terminology than a raid, and helping to support this idea that every time you gather a large group of people, it's not necessarily about raiding and conquering. It could just be for exploration, and discovery of new lands, new concepts, new things. What did you guys think overall? Let's start with you this time, Sale.
So, all respects to Snipe Hunter, I think he's simultaneously upselling and underselling the forces required for this particular event. Um, I mean, everything he mentions is good. I think it's a good basic checklist. At the same time, I think if you're more like Velix and you're perhaps interested on a solo or small group exploration, even a new continent, I don't think is too daunting. I mean, depending, right? I mean, you'd have to have someone who's really, really good on the sea, but small craft could still do it, right? Presumably. I mean, if it's the Aegean Sea, right, or you know, the Mediterranean, right, like it's crossable with a
Well, not if
small
there's
group.
storms. That's the
Well,
scary part of this
okay. I mean, if you're
particular.
coming up on Scylla and Charybdis, you're screwed anyway, right? But like, you know, yeah, that's just the
I
way
see
it
where you're
goes.
I see where you're going, Sale. Like I think that was kind of a thing I got in it too. Like if you're able to find the right people, I think like instead of going, the solo route and just trying to get a bunch of NPCs or getting a massive group of people with, one predominant skill, if you can find, two or three other people that have exactly the skills you need, two or three, highly detailed skills, then you can really do stuff with a small team. But again, yeah, the costs will be a lot more. Because you lose one person, all of a sudden you're down, a few skills you need. So it can be
Yeah,
it's a lot more dangerous. There's the
everyone's
trade-off.
a force multiplier. So if you lose anyone, you drastically reduce your effectiveness. Yeah. Um, but yeah, on the other hand, I think it depends a little bit on what you intend to actually get out of it. You as the person organizing an expedition, for instance. Um, on the one hand, if you're like, hey, there are new people that we've never seen before with a new type of boat and, new clothes and, just everything is new. We've never seen them. We've never heard of them. Then, you're like, all right, trade route, right? Or, you want to open up trade and you want to get a monopoly on trade, right? So then in that case, you're probably going to want to invest quite a bit more into that venture than you would if you just wanted to kind of casually slip on over there and see what's going on. Because then you're basically, you know, looking at setting up. I mean, if you really want to be cutthroat about it, you'd basically be trying to hire both a navy and a merchant fleet and, ground forces to secure either your, well, it depends on how militant you want to be, right? But like at the very least, right, you want to secure the sea passage, right? So you're going to have like a lot of investment put in. And so that would be a very, in this particular case, a very aggressive, very uh, high octane, high um, resource, start hurdle, whatever, threshold to like get started. But if you're, just kind of want to be like, you know, I don't really like what I'm doing in Crownsrock right now, but maybe this new place will be kind of fun. And you just kind of want to settle over there. Of course, your total resource and tempo is lower. And of course, your experience will be greatly different. Um, so, there's some consideration there in terms of what precisely you're looking to get out of it. Or, you just want to like do the Discordian thing, cause chaos, havoc. That takes no effort at all. So it's a very easy route to go.
Oh, it takes effort and a lot of planning if you want to do it well.
Oh yes, if you want to do it well, absolutely. But it's a low skill seal or low skill floor. Very easy to start.
Sword Saint, what were you thinking about the logistics aspects of gathering an expedition together?
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, personally, that's the type of logistic I want to, the type of logistics I want to be doing in a MMO. I don't want to do logistics for a raid. That's boring. You know, who cares about gathering 20 guys to run through a maze? But who cares? It's like, okay, so we're gonna grab 20 rats to run on this wheel. So what? I want to grab 20 guys, guys and gals to do that. I think that's very cool. We were having a discussion in Founders Chat, and with some, several of us, and I think that's awesome. The way I look at it is like, I'm sure everybody, all of you guys have played pen and paper role playing games before.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so to me, and this is one of the things I like about Revival, is that it's the video game version of getting together with your friends and putting aside a Saturday and just playing 8 hours, just grinding it out, man. In a pen and paper game. While everybody doesn't like the idea of, you know, being in a game that long, they want to come in, they want to jump in for about an hour or so and go back to the rest of the day. I want to put aside a snowy Saturday or a rainy Saturday and just be on, man, from like, 10 in the morning to 10 at night, and we're having an adventure and it looks like classic Jason and the Argonauts, where we're on this boat and, at 5 o'clock, giant crabs crawled up the side of the boat. We had to fight them off. By 6 o'clock. We're having the crabs for dinner. Maybe sometime during the trip, Captain Matey gets sick because he drank too much. We're laughing, we're dancing, and we have the linguist lady there, on the boat with us, and she's calling us pigs because we're telling dirty jokes. That's that's what I want to do. That's even my guy being a paladin, and primarily being land based with the type of gameplay I'm going for. I'm kind of itching to make a alt who's a sailor to do that. So I think
Hmm.
it's great. Yeah, come on. Screw that 2 hours per session crap. Let's get on. Let's pull out the pizza, and even though we're all in our own homes, let's have that classic pen and paper experience. Where we're playing 10 hours and we all just hopped on a boat and we can see it on our screens to go discover this new homeland. And if if the ship happens to get sunk by the Leviathan on the way there, man, fuck it. It's a good story to tell. We're all sitting in anime's realm laughing like, damn, that was a big goddamn squid. Yeah, and what makes it even better is the fact that with Revival's aging system, you can be the old guy in the tavern 10 years from now, telling new players that story. And it really happened.
That squid was this big. Um, yeah, I mean, as we're going across the seas in these ships, we have to hope that there's more to do than just sitting, spamming a language, trying to learn the language, text after text after text. Hopefully, there's more for us to do, more tasks for us to do on the ship to make sure that the ship is doing, what it needs to do, whether that's raising sails or catching food or whatever. There's stuff to do, activities for us to do on these ships. Maybe there's some dancing, maybe there's some storytelling, all kinds of things, dice games. There's all kinds of stuff that we can do on these ships that will keep us active. And one of the fascinating things about the blog, though, is this idea that if the captain goes away, it might be up to you to try and command the rest of the crew. Maybe, like you said, the captain is drunk, so he's passed out somewhere, and
It's very likely.
you've got to go try and command the crew. And they're like, "Who the hell are you? I'm not listening to you. You're not paying
Right.
me." Um, or maybe you are paying the captain, but I don't like you. I'm not going to listen to what you say. Or maybe it's crazy. You're telling them to do stuff, and they're like, "There's no way in hell I would do that. That's going to sink the ship." Um, there can be some fascinating interactions based on what we're seeing in the blog.
Yeah, but just the journey itself, like, what happened to Skippy? Oh man, we lost him, right when we passed these rocks. There was just this mermaid, man. She was incredible, and Skippy said, "Yeah, screw you guys. That mermaid is hot," and he got off the ship, and we're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
You know,
another amazing
it's the
thing. Yeah,
story.
the the navigator is off with the mermaid. Somebody's
It's
got to
never
try and
just
fill
a
that spot.
mermaid. It's never just a mermaid.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, not in Lovecraft. Like she probably has like 40 tentacles, under her seashell, but
Probably
still.
some tentacles we didn't want her to have these days. Um, but yeah, uh, there could be some really fun times, and again, hopefully, it's keeping us more active and engaged than um, what we typically see um, in MMORPGs so far.
Yeah,
Right, like
with the what Sale kind of alluded to it a little bit. And one thing I kind of noticed with the blog is you like Snipe gave us one example of an expedition, but realistically, there's so many ways that you could do it because the way these systems in Revival are constructed, with them, each one of them having a certain amount of depth and scalability, it you can really, like Sale said, you could go with a big like you're a trader in big industry and you hear of a new continent immediately to you're thinking new big industry. So big investment, establishing trade routes, controlling the maps, controlling all this stuff, ground forces securing, and you have this huge operation. Whereas somebody that procures, specific relics or information and sells it to people, like about a certain cave or ritual location or something, somebody like that isn't going to go over. When they hear new continent, they're like, ooh, okay, let's keep this on the down low. Let's get the smallest team possible. Go over there and start scouting around, finding things. So when everybody eventually shows up, you have all the knowledge. You know where all these things are. You know where to tell people to go, and all of a sudden you've got a lot of very valuable information to spread right away. So I can see how, depending on what role you're playing, what skills you have, and the way you're making a living in Revival, which I think is kind of like the key phrase in this game. Like, however you're doing that, you hear of a new continent, and maybe for you it means something totally different than another person. And how you go about, if you want to be on the frontier lines of that, I think everybody's approach will be different depending on what they're trying to do in that new place. But yeah, I think it was a cool little blog just because it shows you the complications, and that the bigger thing, I think the big thing not Sale, Snipe was trying to communicate too, is the bigger thing you're trying to do, the more impactful thing you're trying to do in the world, the more effort it's going to take and the more possibility for disaster to happen will be there. Because he just mentioned a few things in the blog of drunk captains, and we've talked about a little bit mermaids and things like that. Imagine you start magnifying that and you have a multi-ship operation going out to try and do one of these big trade captures. All of a sudden, who knows what can happen? Maybe just the sheer presence of that many boats crossing a certain part of the ocean, and all of a sudden you have like maddened whales that suddenly you're in their turf and you just get attacked by a bunch of whales. I don't know. So I think it's really cool. It just shows that the game is dynamic enough and just unpredictable enough that you can't. There's no path you can. There's no set path, which I think this
Hmm.
blog helps illustrate more. There's no set path. There's a lot of ways to do things. You never know. Uh, like Revival's like a bunch of chocolates, a box of chocolates. That's what it
Oh.
is. And that's all I've got.
He went Forrest Gump on us.
Mhm.
Um, okay, yeah.
So he,
Go ahead.
I was being funny.
Ah, we are getting towards the end of our time. We did have a couple of things and just a few things in chat. Verde said it would also be interesting to see if your mount gets affected by the environment. Think of the benefits of riding a camel vs a horse in the desert. the horse might be affected by a sandstorm or heat, a camel not so much. And you could also think of, Omba was talking about the cost of trying to board an elephant in Sky Pass, if they even had the resources to do such a thing. But it will be interesting to see how we think that we'll need to find those kinds of resources. If our expedition is going to the desert instead of going the Sky Pass, or we're going to have to think about what it means to get a pack of camels instead of a pack of horses. You know, I hadn't really thought of that. We've been talking about wearing different armor and different clothing, and it stands to reason that that would mean that we'd have to be used to different types of animals. But will our knowledge of animal husbandry regarding horses translate over to our ability to deal with camels? Might not be so easy. I don't know. And then Verde also says, pet fish? That's a red flag for a Dagon Hydra worshiper. So we'll have to think about what our symbols mean going forward. Anything anybody else wants to talk about? We've got a couple of minutes maybe until we're supposed to wrap up. Any other questions people saw in chat?
I didn't see too many questions really, but there was a lot of good, just general commenting going on in the chat about different implications for things. Like you mentioned camels and stuff. I think that's one thing that I'm seeing more. Well, it's always kind of been something that we get with the blogs, is just a lot of new doors are open, but I think definitely these last few blogs have opened up a ton of conversation. I kind of expect the forums to get a little bit of a surge of discussion going on with, the different skills of logistics and world expansion, all kinds of stuff. I think that there's been a lot of open doors with these last few blogs to figuring things out. So Sale will be furiously writing new notes, things like that.
Oh, cool. Go ahead, Sword Saint.
Well, for me, it's, aside from, just the expedition part of it, kind of what you were saying earlier about people supporting PvP but not directly participating in it. All of us, well, the majority of us all of us in the founders chat, we all have houses and mansions and things like that. We're going to have to pay for these things. So I think that all the business opportunities that come from, such an expedition, just from being a crafter, for example, it's just going to be great in itself because it'll help us be able to pay for our properties. It'll, these may be actual businesses that, we may be actively part of, from the cartographer to the cook to the person that's the alchemist, who's providing medicine, for these trips to the blacksmith who's providing weapons, who's assisting the carpenter in the boat building. I just think the whole stimulation of the economy that comes from, an expedition in itself is just going to be great for the game because it provides a lot of new opportunities just in general, just for players, period.
Mhm.
Yeah, I to follow up on what you said, Sword, I think one of probably the most intriguing thing as far as roles going and alternative play styles in Revival is that the opportunity to take on unique supporting roles. Whereas, in any other MMORPG, everybody's basically a combatant. You have maybe a couple of professions that, who knows how important those are, but by and large, everybody kind of has the same role in the world. But in Revival, I think it's going to be really refreshing because not everybody will have the same role, and not just in a small way. It's not like little professions or side skills. Like, your whole existence in the game may be completely different than somebody else's, and that's like a really big thing because that's not just determining, how fun the game is for you, but it can determine the way the game and the whole game environment feels for everybody. I think, like one game we brought up a lot on Theory Forge in our other thing was Star Wars Galaxies, because prior to the later stages of that game and the whole Jedi mess, before they really had Jedis going, that game was really unique because you had so many people in very different roles that they served in the game that they enjoyed doing that were not at all, they weren't centered on combat. There was some very, very support roles, like some very unique support roles that people just enjoyed doing that for a living in Star Wars Galaxies. And that, Star Wars Galaxies was rough and crude and very unrefined as far as, expanding games outside of combat, expanding MMO games. So I think Revival has the opportunity to offer something extremely unique at a very large scale. So it'll be cool to see. I'm excited. Every new blog we get, I feel like, gives us a little bit more of a glimpse into what that's, shaping up to be. So it's pretty cool. So I'm enjoying the journey. I know all of us are waiting for the game, very impatiently, but at the same time, I think that the whole process of the game development is more enjoyable than others that I've experienced in the past, just because you feel like you're learning something new and you're discovering something and you're almost forging a new product along with the developers in a sense, or at least you're enjoying the experience of forging it, even if we're not part of some type of open development like other games have done in the past. So pretty interesting stuff. I'm excited. But yeah, I'll stop ranting on. Sword, you had some
that
good
was
final
perfect.
thoughts. Diggs, Sale, you guys have anything else before we close out this Superblog Saturday?
I'm gonna repost this link that Rose gave us, that is to polls, um, snapshots of what her renovation kits look like.
Oh
I
yeah,
think that was patched last night, and there's some great pics in there.
yeah. I flipped through that a
Um,
little bit this morning. Really cool stuff.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm in a tenement, so I don't think I can upgrade mine too much more than it already is. But
Same here. It's a temporary hold until we get ships for me. Ships is where
yeah,
I plan to invest quite a bit.
It's all super pretty though. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
hmm
it's so pretty.
Yeah, so any of you guys out there who are watching that have a massive mansion or something, log in and check it out and share pictures, because I think every house should theoretically be pretty different. So
Well, it's just the reno kits, so I don't know if that includes the upgrade. Wait, we already have the upgrade
well, some
kits.
people have
hmm
different varying,
So
different upgrades, different layouts, renovation kits. So everybody's house should
laboratories and
be
all that
pretty
stuff. Yeah.
pretty unique, especially if they've taken the time to go in and decorate
well, I mean, but
things.
the ren kits are all independent, right? Like a ren kit will look the same, give or take a couple windows in
Oh yeah,
like
gotcha.
Well,
I
I
see
mean
what you're
in the
saying.
wall
Can
features,
you?
but like
So this is a
yeah.
question I have for any developer still in chat and you guys. Are we able to rearrange objects within a renovation kit room? I think so, right?
So the ren kit rooms don't have physics at the moment because I mean they were trying to get the bug squashed so that they could have the physics and stuff properly set. So I don't actually know if we can really, decorate with the ren kit rooms.
But we
But
will be
as
able to eventually.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the
yeah.
plan,
I mean
anyways.
you can take your props and stuff from a ren kit room and move it anywhere in your house, right? It's tied to the room, right? So if you
Yeah.
remove that ren kit room
Yeah,
and swap it in with something else, those assets will go away, right? But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll all be movable. I mean, unless it's like the forge or something, right? That's actually requires,
Fire
yeah. I
place.
was
Yeah.
just asking because
fireplace.
I think it matters for as far as people being able to have totally unique houses, because I think they're already pretty unique, but yeah,
Oh,
that
for sure.
definitely makes it to where no two houses will be the same at all. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so all right, that good thoughts, guys. That was it from everybody, I think. Yeah, thanks for coming. It was good to be on again. I won't get too many opportunities as much as usual, but yeah, it was fun to come on and talk to you guys and meet a new person, Sword Saint from the community. Which it's cool to talk with people on the forums, but it's totally different to get to talk with them, person to person, voice to voice, and learn about some of these personalities. So thank you, Sword Saint, for coming on and chatting with us. And yeah, we'll look forward to having you again in the future and future guests. Obviously, Diggs is kind of taking the charge and has some great stuff set up with you guys in the community that are following. So if you're interested in getting on the show, there are ways to do that. I believe Diggs has things in the forum, and if not, he'll share links in the chat. So yeah, thanks
And you
you
can
guys.
always message people.
Yeah,
Either
and
Diggs or I. Or,
yeah, messaging. The other big thing too is Discord kind of replacing IRC. That's a great way to message people too, because it makes it really easy to direct message people. So yeah, utilize Discord.
If anyone watching this who's a founder but scared of IRC because of the tech stuff required, Discord is like super simple. You make an account and you log in, and you basically just click the link, and you're good. You have to technically like send a message to Snipe Hunter to get verified, but other than that, super easy process. So if you've been afraid to kind of join IRC because you're not so sure on your tech stuff, definitely jump in on Discord, because it will be very easy to troubleshoot.
Yes, the other big benefit to Discord too is for those of you worried about installing stuff, you don't even need a client for Discord. You can just do it through your browser if you prefer. But I do have used the Discord app, and it's very nice. It operates pretty light, and it offers some customization things of dark themes and stuff like that. So it's pretty nice. So you guys can try it out. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and we will catch you next time, which I believe will be next week. I'm not sure. I didn't see the schedule, but
next
yeah.
Sunday.
Okay, so next Sunday.
And we have Calidora coming on, right? Talking about housing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Whatever blog comes out, we have a mystery blog coming up.
Oh. All right.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
See everyone.
All right, thanks, guys.